Well, the Australian Bureau of Stats is questioning some migration figures that we shared here last week. And the respected economist Leith Van Onselen has fired back with this story on his site Macro Business. ABS tries to censor migration debate. Leith Van Onselen writes, on Wednesday evening, I received an email from an Australian Bureau of Statistics media officer suggesting that I've misled the public by quoting the ABS monthly net permanent and long-term arrivals data. I bluntly responded by requesting the ABS show where I've misled and questioned why the ABS appears to be trying to censor debate on immigration numbers. After contacting various media outlets, I discovered a coordinated effort to undermine the use of monthly net permanent and long-term arrivals data as a leading indicator of migration. Radio 2GB was also fact-checked for using this data. The reality is, for years, economists have used this monthly net permanent and long-term arrivals data as a leading indicator of migration. Leith writes, sure, the measure is not perfect, but it has historically correlated very strongly with the official quarterly net overseas migration data. So that's up on Macro Business, and we're about to talk to Leith about this. So the Australian Bureau of Statistics isn't happy. They're now saying border crossing data should not be used to measure migration or population change. But wait, in an official Australian government document titled Fundamentals of Migration in Australia, it says border crossings are an early indicator of future migration flows. And then there's the often quoted migration expert Abul Rizvi. He's described these indicators as the earliest approximation of net migration that the ABS publishes. But now the Bureau doesn't want us to discuss these figures. And the strange thing is, economists look at indicators all the time. So why is the Australian Bureau of Statistics so sensitive on this topic? The Institute of Public Affairs has picked up on this. They say it seems highly unusual that the ABS would publish data and then complain when it's used to uncover what's going on. It appears the ABS has been sent out to shut down debate about the federal government's unpopular mass migration program. And then there's this from the economist Cameron Murray. He says, chasing up selected media outlets for reporting the data in exactly the way everyone does seems like poor form. Leith Van Onselen from Macro Business is on the line right now. Good morning to you, Leith.
Yeah, g'day, Ben. How's things?
Doing pretty well. What was your first reaction when the Australian Bureau of Statistics got in touch?
Mate, I was absolutely shocked. Now, obviously, look, nobody has tried to say that the monthly net permanent long-term arrivals data is perfect. But the fact of the matter is the official quarterly net overseas migration data is very lagged. So, for example, the latest read we've got is for the fourth quarter of last year, and we're nearly at the end of August. And we're not going to get the March quarter data until the 18th of September. So in order to bridge the gap, analysts, the media, everybody has always used the monthly permanent and long-term arrivals data as a proxy for net overseas migration. And as you said at the top, the Centre for Population, the federal government's own advisory agency on net overseas migration, in their own official handbook, they said that it can be used as a potential leading indicator for net overseas migration and, quote, an early indicator of future migration flows. So this is quite astonishing. The fact of the matter is, as you said, economists use leading indicators all the time to try and bridge the gap between the official data and where we are now to try and work out where we're going. And the fact of the matter is we had the highest net permanent long-term arrivals in the first 6 months of this year in Australia's history, which, based on historical relationships, suggests that net overseas migration is rising again. And so the fact of the matter is someone I'm assuming it's the Treasurer's Office or somewhere else, has contacted the ABS, said, shut this down, we're getting negative, feedback on migration. We're failing because they're failing to control migration. And they've come after media outlets. And here's the thing, Ben, we know that Labor's failing to control migration because the number of people in Australia on temporary visas has blown out to a record level of 2.46 million, which is up 750,000 from when Labor came to office. So
we'll go through some numbers in a moment. We should just say we don't know whether someone in the Treasurer's office has ordered someone at the Bureau of Statistics to start picking on Leith and other media outlets, but it is highly unusual for the ABS to respond in this way, isn't it, Leith?
Oh, absolutely. It appears like they're being pulled by someone within government to go after us, because why would they go after us on this when they could go after economists for using the monthly CPI indicator, which is a lead indicator of inflation, when it's not as accurate as a quarterly? There's all these, indicators that the ABS releases that are like early reads on things. They're not perfect. They're not as accurate as the official numbers, but we use them all the time because we have to. Because in this case, we're almost 8 months, ahead of where we got the latest official net overseas migration numbers from. So we've used this data for years. And it's just now that they've decided to come after us for it.
Okay, Home Affairs says, and I quote, the latest annual net immigration figures show over the 12 months to December 31, 2024, net overseas migration is estimated at 341,000, a decrease of 190,000 or 36%.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That was the fourth quarter of last year. The problem is the net permanent long-term arrivals data began rising in January and has been rising for 6 months and has risen, for the first 6 months of this year, it was the highest 6-month figure for the first half in Australia's history. So when you plot the monthly net permanent long-term arrivals data against the quarterly official, it tracks very closely. And the fact of the matter is there was a turning point in the monthly data which suggests that immigration has risen again, which is what myself and everyone else has reported. But then they're still hugging this old migration data from late last year. Now, I don't know what the official number is going to say when it comes out, late next month for March. But based on the fact that this figure has skyrocketed, and we've also had a tightening in rental vacancy rates, suggests that the official net overseas migration has probably risen. But we'll find out later.
We'll find out in September. And in the meantime, we're doing what has always been done, and that is if you have indicators out there, whether they're monthly or quarterly, economists and politicians and journalists and commentators are able to use those numbers and to try to get some sense of what the bigger number is going to be when it lands. What do you make of the comment from the economist Cameron Murray, who says chasing up selected media outlets for reporting the data in exactly the way everyone else does seems like poor form?
Oh, he's absolutely spot on. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is the Australian Bureau of Statistics should just produce the data and let us argue, over what it means, right? But instead they've made themselves the news, which is not what you want. I mean, and it does reek of potential political interference here. And if that's the case, it just means that the ABS is, might have become another public institution that appears to have been politicised. And we've seen it with so many others. And I don't want that to be the case. They really should just produce the data and, yes, correct us if we've used the data wrong. Like, for example, if I reported the monthly net permanent long-term arrivals data incorrectly, sure, I'll fess up to it. But the fact of the matter is I haven't. I reported it as is, and it's always been used as a leading indicator for net overseas migration. So I don't understand why they're suddenly coming after us and saying, no, you can't do that anymore, when the Centre for Population, the government's own department, says that that's how it can be used.
Well, I wonder whether they've sent a note to the migration expert Abul Rizvi, who wrote in 2024, permanent and long-term movements are the earliest approximation of net migration that the ABS publishes. Have they sent a complaint to Mr. Rizvi?
I'm sure not. I'm sure they haven't, because Abul Rizvi, like me, has used this as a leading indicator for years. I've been following his work for, quite close to a decade, and he's always used this figure as a leading indicator of net overseas migration. So as have I, as is most other economists and analysts. So I don't know why they're coming after us now. Well, I do know why. It's because the numbers spiked and they're copying, negative feedback about it. And as a result, it appears like the government's trying to shut down debate. But this is me guessing, of course. But, just because the ABS has come out now so strongly against it, suggests that there's been some kind of political interference. And I sincerely hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope it's not the case as well. Well done, and you can read more at Macro Business. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, Ben.
Leith Van Onselen, the respected economist, joining us. And when you look at what's been sent to us by the fact checkers, this is the bottom line. They're saying that it may turn out, when we get the full figures, that 1,200 people are arriving every day as opposed to 1,500. Well, if that's the case, I don't think it's going to take away from the concerns of average Aussies about record migration.